Morton just released a new product called Additions. Add it to your drink mix, reset your palate with 4 different flavors, and for a limited time until the end of the year, you can get a free box of Additions with every drink mix purchase. Use my code down below to get 15% off. Liege-Bastogne-Liege, we had carnage, chaos before the race even started. Could the young Paul Seixas follow Tadej Pogacar? That was the question on all of our lips. Especially, I said yes. If you watch the Liege-Bastogne-Liege preview of Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, which you should all listen to and download and subscribe to, etc., etc., I said he would follow him on Redoute. What happens afterwards? That's not my problem. We got the Redoute 5-minute test and the Roche Faucons 4-minute test. Is this a peloton? No. What is a peloton? I always find that an interesting philosophical question. This is the front group with Remco Evenepoel. It had as much as 4 minutes ahead of a group with Seixas and Pogacar, using photos behind to piece together what happened. We see Nico Denz was pacing there, Tim Wellens was chasing behind for UAE, we had De Plus because Bernal was in the front group with Remco pacing, so even Remco himself was pacing at one point, but Pogacar and UAE never panicked. He had Sivakov, Kosnefroy, Novak. Novak was actually in the front group, they never even called him back. They controlled it with Langen, Gerhardt, and Tim Wellens. And actually, in that front group were very few other contenders apart from Remco and Bernal. Seixas, Schelmoser, all those guys were in the group behind. Remco's group was eventually caught, and so the familiar sight of Sivakov and Novak were set to pace. But instead of Wellens doing the lead out or Narvaez, we have the new recruit for UAE Team Emirates who's coming into good shape, Benoit Cosnefroy, the puncher. The French puncher who was good in Amstel, good in Brabant Pale. And here's the lead out into the base of Redoute. So actually, once the race got reset, it was a pretty traditional Liege-Bastogne-Liege. Like huge lead outs, pretty big peloton going into the Redoute. Got Visma on the left-hand side for Tullet, Trek going for Schelmoser and Ciccone, who've podiumed here before. But Kosnefroy, look at the work he's doing here. He's positioning Pogacar. They're entering just behind Bahrain Victorious, who Lenny Martinez dropped out at the last minute. So they're going for Eulalia and Bilbao. But where is Remco? You see, he's a bit deeper here. Seixas is third wheel, Tullet fifth wheel, Schelmoser sixth wheel. So Remco's a little bit deeper. He's wheel 8 and not moving up. And you can't move up. But even here, Benoit Cosnefroy, he's doing the full gas lead out. It's like what we saw from Narvaez on Mur de Bretagne last year, or maybe it was Almeida. Remco's looking behind. So he's dropped the wheel. The gap is opening up. It's only going to be really Seixas who has a chance to follow Pogacar. And this pace is really, really hard. We actually have the images cut away in between. We don't actually see Pogacar launch, but he launches. And only one man can follow him for the time being, Paul Seixas. He's doing a good job of it, longer than anyone could do last year, but he's struggling on the bike. Pogacar's also out of the saddle, trying to drop him. Seixas gets back in the saddle, but it just levels off in time. They broke the record on Redoute today. They smashed it, like 7 seconds, 10 seconds quicker than the previous record. And look at the gap. I mean, those two are in a league of their own. Then Schelmoser, he had a massive gap to the group behind him. Seixas was almost getting dropped about 450 meters from the summit. He's all over the bike. Pogacar also has to slow down over the top two. Seixas gets back to the wheel, and that's the race over pretty much for everybody else. Like, that gap is humongous, 30 seconds on the Redoute. It's actually a pretty big chase group behind them, but still, we have a race on our hands. The 19-year-old French phenom Paul Seixas following Pogacar on Redoute. Incredible. Schelmoser is left with a difficult decision. He probably hoped he'd be with a cooperative guy, and Ben Healy's always someone you'd like to have with you in that situation. And Remco comes back. He starts pacing the group behind, chasing Schelmoser. Third place still on offer, I suppose. And Seixas, the question was he going to pull? The answer is he is going to pull with Tadej Pogacar. He starts to relay. Remco's winding it up. Schelmoser's brought back. But now we're going towards Roche or Faucons, which is about 4 minutes. It's less than, or 3.5 minutes. It's less than Redoute. It's steeper in sections, actually. And in the group behind, everyone's playing for third. You see Hindley attacks after Remco set it up. Then Mauro Schmidt for Jaco. He's saying to the group with him, hey, let's relay, let's get across, because it's literally a group of like 25 riders behind with Schmidt, Tullet, Bernal, Schelmoser, Ciccone. multiple Boras, multiple Jaycos, Gregoire with teammates Pacher and FDJ, Izagirre. They're all playing for third. What can Paul Seixas do? Could we go down to a sprint in Liège, which we haven't seen in a while? What will Tadej Pogacar's plan be? Will he trust his sprint? Probably not. Probably not. He will attack if he can, and Paul Seixas makes a small error here, which is, again, like what Ganna did, or I think on the Poggio last year. He starts the Roche Faucons in front of Pogacar, and then he gets attacked from behind. Never do that. Always stop relaying like 1K before the key point where Pogacar is going to attack. Not that it probably would have made any difference, but Pogacar starts to turn the screws here. This was his first bomber on Roche Faucons through the twisty section, throws a haymaker at Seixas. He just responds in time, looks back, sees, okay, you're still there, but we still got another 90 seconds of this climb to go, and that was a steep section. So he cruises when it levels off a bit here, and then he winds it up in the saddle once again, squeezes Seixas off the wheel, and Seixas cracks. So it was fun while it lasted, but unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and 600 meters before the end of Roche Faucons, the good legs for Seixas ran out. Pogacar obviously running away then with the victory, albeit some errant dogs perhaps nearly in the way there. Skelmos is the third strongest on the climbs apart from those two, but again, he goes clear on Roche Faucons, and Remco is going to work to bring him back. Not just Remco, there were other riders pulling, I think, although Remco not happy with the lack of cooperation from, I think, Alex Baudin. Seixas had enough of a gap to hold on, but Pogacar wins his fourth Liege-Bastogne-Liege, dedicating the victory to his recently passed former teammate Christian Munoz. Seixas second. Remco catches back up to Skelmos and, in fact, leads out the sprint from 325 meters to go and just destroys everybody in the sprint. And because he had Bernal on his wheel, the quicker guys like Gregoire and Schmidt kind of got blocked or boxed out. So still very impressive from Remco. He's third, then Verstringer, Bernal, Bilbao, Gregoire, Scaroni, Hallen Johannesson, and Filippo Zana. Here's what Pogacar had to say after the race.
What do you think about Paul Seixas? On La Redoute, I was really going deep, and yeah, I could see that he's like a little bit on the elastic, but on the top he came next to me, and I was like, okay, really impressed. And then also he was pulling quite strong all the way, and we opened a big gap, which was really good for us. And then I was like, maybe back in my head I was already preparing to do a duo sprint, because he was so strong. But I tried on Roche Faucons, I tried with my pace, and I know the climb super well, it suits me well, and luckily he dropped, but I was prepared to go head by head in sprint with him.
Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll have the women's Liege-Bastogne-Liege for you tomorrow as soon as I can, and then we're on to the Giro d'Italia shortly. Until then, ciao ciao.